Oh, I've Dulce Sloan I've had on. She started here in Atlanta. She's now on The Daily Show. Rob Hayes I've had on. He started in Atlanta. He's now been on Fallon and Desus and Mero. I mean, Aries Spears is someone I've had on who I just worked with one weekend, and then we ended up doing a podcast together. I've interviewed all the club owners, comedy club owners here.
Hi, and welcome to Kelly, where we talk about life, your life and my life. And through Kelly, we hope to inspire. I have Joel Byars on the show today. Hey. Joel is a comedian. He teaches comedy, and he also has a podcast. So let's first talk about comedy and how you got into comedy, because that's where I met you, was at a comedy night.
And comedy night, loosely, it was like a bar on a Tuesday at like 11. And you were like there like looking for talent and things. So it's crazy just how that was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I started comedy actually in Knoxville, Tennessee. I went to school at Merville College.
Merville?
So I did a couple shows up there second semester my senior year of college when I was like, well, I have nothing to lose but debt. So might as well pursue comedy. I've always loved it. Did a couple shows up there when I moved back to Atlanta. Did comedy pretty much every night since then. I've been doing comedy a little over 8 years now, and it's my passion. It's my love, yeah.
Yeah, and you would do it whether you were going to be a superstar or not, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about pursuing your passion and making it your job is like all the work is worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how comedy leads in to personal development, and I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I did stand-up comedy for 2 years. Yeah, just as a way to challenge myself.
Yeah.
My first time up, though, I did a 15-minute set and got a standing ovation.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. And then after that, it scared me so bad. I ended up teaching here at Words of Motion Acting Studio. We did stand-up comedy classes also, and the first year that I taught it, I was so scared because I don't know, it just it's you either like that format or it scares the hell out of you.
You got to be a bit of a masochist for sure. Yes. And you can't be afraid to fail, but you know, failure is the best teacher, for sure. And you're going to fail in stand up. And what I love about it though, and with my classes, I'll have lawyers or I'll have actors take it. Like everybody takes it for whatever goals, but as a stand up, it's like a Swiss Army knife. You're the writer, you're the director, you're the actor, you're the editor, you're everything. So it really forces you to be a self-sustaining person, whether it is creatively or from your more professional side. It really. And
the thing that would kill me every time, I could do well as long as it was a big audience, but if you gave me 3 or 4 people, that tripped me out so bad.
That's
so
comedy.
You've got to learn how to go with a smaller audience.
You got to make that connection.
Yeah.
And that is stand-up. Stand-up is when it is 6 people and it's a smoky bar on a Tuesday and 3 of them didn't even know there was going to be comedy. If you can connect with them, 300 people is easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you go to a bar, they're not even listening to you. So
no.
That's always the most interesting, interesting place to do comedy. So tell me about your classes.
The classes, I do an intro to stand-up class, and then I also do an advanced class. And the advanced one came just because students kept asking me if I was going to do an advanced class. And like everything in my career has come from me listening to people and learning from them. I feel like you can learn from every person you listen to. I teach them through Highwire Comedy Company in Atlanta. They do sketch and improv. I took all the sketch and improv classes, and they were like, hey, have you thought about teaching stand-up? Taught stand-up. Then class was like, hey, you should do an advanced class. I was like, okay, I'll do an advanced class. And then one of my students was like, hey, you should write a book about this. And then like we wrote a book about it.
What's your book?
It's called Finding Your Funny, the Comics Playbook.
Okay. I love reading all these. I've got Jeff Justice's book. There's a guy, Robert Lowe, that does improv, and he was one of the first improvers here in Atlanta. Yeah. And I've been reading his book. I love all these entrepreneur. You know, it's experience.
Yes, exactly. Jeff Justice has been on my podcast too,
really?
actually. Yeah.
I love Jeff Justice. Yeah. He's great. Leading to that, let's talk about your podcast.
Ooh, yeah. The podcast is a passion project that started me highlighting comedians in Atlanta because the comedy scene in Atlanta is the most buzzing scene in the country right now. The city in general is really. Like entertainment is here and there's a lot of talent brewing and I think it's a nice melting pot and I wanted to profile the Atlanta comedy scene, and it then has since evolved into just becoming like a weekly guide to comedy mastery, is what I call it.
Oh, I love that.
Ooh.
Master.
Sorry, I didn't blow dry my hair for nothing, so I'm just gonna swoop it. I went for it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So who are some of the guests that you said you've had? Jeff Justice. What are some local talent that you've had on?
Oh, I've Dulce Sloan I've had on. She started here in Atlanta. She's now on The Daily Show. Rob Hayes I've had on. He started in Atlanta. He's now been on Fallon and Desus and Mero. I mean, Aries Spears is someone I've had on who I just worked with one weekend, and then we ended up doing a podcast together. I've interviewed all the club owners, comedy club owners here in the city. And then I've also interviewed like social media gurus and branding experts. So I like to provide different angles on how, not necessarily like you can either be a comedian or even just a comedy fan or a creative looking to kind of empower yourself. I really like to bring in all perspectives on it.
Right. And you said to me that we both kind of have the same mission, to educate and inspire people.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. Mine was actually educate and entertain through my stand-up. Like, I like to be funny and informative. But when I read your story, I was like, yes, this is where the same side of the coin. It's great.
Yeah, and it's so important because a lot of times people don't know how to get into things or how to begin things, and we have such an array of resources around us, and many people don't even know that.
Yeah, that's why I like what you're doing here. Is you're really empowering people to become like self-aware, but also pursue their dreams or even realize their dreams as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe that we are our environments, and if we don't put back into our environments, then we reach that lull.
I think that's the goal, is like whatever you want to be, surround yourself with people that are doing it. So if you want to be an actor, surround yourself with actors. If you want to be a comedian, surround yourself with comedians. It's really about you. I think the saying is like, you're the sum of the 5 people around you.
Yeah.
It's really true.
Yeah, yeah, and yes, we have such a. I did not know until that time really about the comedy community, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful community, and thank you for giving back to it and helping develop it, because sky's the limit.
Well, thank you too, Kelly. You're doing positive work as well.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
This is such a moment.
I've always wanted to drink on a TV talk show. Yeah. I don't know how long that's been there. It's like,
well, nobody's drank it, so
it looks like some bugs have drank it. It looks like definitely some bugs and dust have drank it. That's fiber.
We put all of our, it's my witch's brew in there. Here, this is for you.
Aw.
Joel, thank you for being a gift in life. You have one of those very likable personalities. I've only met you in person one time.
One time.
And it's one of those things that I remembered you. And it's because you're nice to people and you connect with people. So the podcast is absolutely perfect for you. It fits your personality.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And you care a lot about your environment. So thank you for being here. If you have any advice to give to an upcoming, not even upcoming, just somebody who wants to get into comedy, what is the first step?
Well, take my class, of course. Take my class is always one. I'm also teaching a podcast class now that you can get on my website, joelbyerscomedy.com. But other than me trying to promote to pay back my loans, Sally Mae is ruthless. In all honesty, whether you're a comedian, actor, creative, business person, just consistency. And whatever you're doing, consistency, understanding what you want to do, why you want to do it, and just remain consistent with that finish line in mind. Because you've got to have a vision of where you're going, so when the times get tough, it's worth it still. You can see past the pain of the current moment and really pursue your end goal.
So here's a funny thing, just to share a little story. Whoa! When I got into comedy, there were a lot of comedians that were taking from Big Kenny.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't mind that I mention his name, at the Laughing Skull. And one of the things that they would say was they would say, Big Kenny tells me that I need to just go ahead and bomb. I just need to go ahead and bomb. Yeah. I don't know if this is true. So Big Kenny, if this is wrong and they are liars, then don't hold it against me. But I was like, what? We need to bomb? Who needs to bomb? ever needs to bomb. But that was one of the things that I remember like resonating, and I remember the first time I bombed, and it was at the punchline, and there were about 4 people, and I melted. It was the most fearful thing that I think I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. Eventually I did get over it, but so don't be afraid to bomb.
I mean, like I said, failure is the best teacher, and on all my episodes, all my interviews, I ask a comedian like their epic bomb story, getting booed on stage, getting things thrown at them, because I am interviewing successful people, but I want the listeners to understand the context of you're not anywhere with that success without hours of failure.
Yeah.
So I've bombed here in Villa Rica before.
Woohoo!
So
Go Villa Rica!
I've bombed everywhere. It's worth it though.
It's worth it. You keep no pain, no gain.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being here. Guys, if you have any questions for Joel, come on and say hello to him. And if you'd like to take his class, please look him up. Thank you. We hope this segment educated and inspired.